And I do hope that I saw that there was information today about a workshop that you're doing. So I hope you'll talk about that before the end also.
Okay, we're ready on Facebook.
Okay, so shall I begin?
Yep.
Take it away.
All right, so for just to start with, I like to give provenance of things. And a couple of years ago, a new junk store opened in San Benito, where I live, and I found a cheap book with really pretty pictures. Well, 2 pages had some fascinating information, and it was the beginning of an idea for a presentation about tides. I've always been drawn to the sea, and by geographical proximity, of course, the beach. I really never gave much thought about how the tides work other than a cursory elementary school knowledge about tides. But one reason I chose to write about tides was for my own edification. So I always think that it's important for speakers to give a brief bio about themselves so that the audience will know whether he or she is qualified to talk about the subject being presented. Well, in my case, I've put my 20-year Navy career in larger letters so you'll at least know that I love the sea. And I've included on the right side of the screen a list of beaches that I've scoured, and it's up to you to decide if those qualifications meet muster. But as you can see in the 2 blue boxes, I've combed a lot of beaches, collected a lot of shells, rocks, and pieces of wood. I've gone out to sea on a variety of Navy vessels during my 20-year career and photographed the swell and loft of the tide from several directions, including from above, hanging out of a minesweeping helicopter while hooked to the overhead, and then below, bobbing like a cork in the windstorm from a tiny tugboat. None of that really credentials me as an expert about the mystique of the tides or what they bring in, but I hope you'll find this presentation a little bit of fun. The photos in the presentation are mine unless indicated otherwise. So, tides are a time-honored mystique. And so you know just how time-honored, on good authority, Wikipedia, a man called Bede, who lived from 672 to 735, was also known as Saint Bede and the Venerable Bede. He was an English Benedictine monk at the monastery of St. Peter and its companion monastery of St. Paul in the kingdom of Northumbria, Anglia. I've circled Northumbria in red on the map. Today it is known as Northumberland County, a non-metropolitan county in England bordered by Scotland on the north and the North Sea on the east. Well, in the year 725, St. Bede wrote The Reckoning of Time, an Anglo-Saxon era treatise written in medieval Latin. The lengthy exposition includes an introduction to the traditional ancient and medieval view of the cosmos. It includes a systematic and methodical explanation of how the spherical Earth influenced the changing length of daylight and how the seasonal motion of the sun and moon influenced the changing appearance of the new moon at evening twilight. It also included a quantitative relation between the changes of the tides at a given place and the daily motion of the moon. As you can see, humans have been fascinated by tides for a very long time. So, just so you know, St. Bede was onto something. Scientists throughout time still adhere to the same tidal mystiques as written about in 725. And here are some facts. Tides are caused by the interaction of Earth, the moon, and the sun. Gravity is the force that causes tides to occur on Earth's surface. The pull of the moon's gravity on Earth's water causes tidal bulges to form on the side closest to the moon and farthest from the moon. So the pull of the moon being much closer to the Earth than is the sun, the pull is greater. The ocean waters on the side of the Earth facing the moon are pulled the most, and this creates the high tide. As the Earth itself is pulled toward the moon, the waters on the other side of the planet form another high tide that is slightly smaller. This information is from the Undersea book, as is the next slide. So as the illustration describes, When the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun are in line with each other, the highest and lowest tides occur. These are called spring tides. When the Sun and the Moon form a right angle with the Earth, their combined pull is weakest, and the difference between high and low tide, the tidal range, is at its lowest. These tides are called neap tides. If you're not new to my presentations, you'll note that I love fun with terminology slides, and oh, here's one now. So, according to Ocean Service NOAA.gov, which is NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is under the U.S. Department of Commerce. NOAA, by the way, likes to define things to the nth degree. So, tides are one of the most reliable phenomena in the world. As the sun rises in the east and the stars come out at night, we are confident that the ocean waters will regularly rise and fall along our shores. This introduction is on the NOAA website. By definition, tides are very long period waves that move through the oceans in response to the forces exerted by the moon and sun. Tides originate in the oceans and progress toward the coastlines, where they appear as the regular rise and fall of the sea surface. When the highest part or crest of the wave reaches a particular location, high tide occurs. Low tide corresponds to the lowest part of the wave or its trough. The difference in height between the high tide and the low tide, as I mentioned earlier, is called the tidal range. In addition to tides being affected by the moon, sun, wind, weather, shoreline, and shape of bays and estuaries also come into play. The ocean doesn't work by tides alone. Its sister phenomena are currents. The major force that produces the currents is simply the wind. Briefly, this is a diagram of currents. As you all probably recall from elementary school days, there are two kinds of currents, cold currents and warm currents. We'll come back to this in a moment. So here's something to think about. Just as St. Bede was fascinated by tides back in 725, scientists throughout time have been studying and explaining what exactly goes on under the sea. According to a study by Raphael Ferrari about ocean dynamics and ocean turbulence, a Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor, the ocean circulation is dominated by geostrophic eddies, specifically cyclones and anticyclones with radii of 10 to 100 kilometers. These eddies are the ocean equivalent of the storms we experience in the atmosphere as weather. Submesoscale flows are a convoluted web of fronts with horizontal scales between 10 kilometers and 100 meters that separate waters of different temperatures and salinities. Now, pay attention. The importance of submesoscale fronts have increasingly come into focus as an important component of ocean dynamics, in particular after the work of the climate process team, which was led by Professor Ferrari. The submesoscale fronts are most energetic close to the ocean's surface. He offers this analogy. Just as alveoli, the tiny branches of air tubes in the lungs, facilitate rapid exchange of gases in the lungs, fronts are the ducts through which heat, carbon, oxygen, and other climatically important tracers enter into the deep ocean. Now, if all this seems a bit droll, the takeaway here is this. The more turbulent the weather, the more action in the ocean. The more action in the ocean, the better pickings on the beach. But we'll get to that in a bit. So more about currents. The major currents of the world's oceans line up to make 5 giant loops of moving water called gyres. These circle different oceans, such as the North Atlantic, the North Pacific, and the West Pacific. Moving ocean currents, again, many of you probably recall this from school. Attribution also is from my cheap little junk store rescue book. In the tropics, strong winds push currents toward the equator. In the northern and southern seas, westerly winds push currents eastward. When they reach a continent, they change direction. The spin of the earth also influences the direction of the currents. Those in the northern part of the world are pushed to the right. Those in the southern part are pushed to the left. This phenomena is called the Coriolis effect. So, considering the title of this presentation, what the tide brought in, where does it all come from and where does it all go? To illustrate the answer to that question, I have a little scenario. But first, let me pick you up in my little pedal boat and we'll zip over to Australia. We are here at the big red star at the top left of this map. We're going to Australia at the bottom right corner of the map at the blue arrow pointing to the lime green star. So just for a moment, consider this, and I apologize in advance, but you'll need to follow along on this chart as best you can. So something falls into the ocean, into the Indian Ocean, off the western coast of Australia, where the lime green star is. Maybe it's a future sea bean one of us will pick up on Boca Chica Beach, like the pod off a cherry moya tree, or it's an Australian-made cricket bat en route somewhere via a commercial ocean vessel, or a rare, precious piece of coral at the bottom of the reef that has broken off the parent plant, or a shell that once housed a unique sea creature. Regardless, our object tumbles around in the warm, velvety silkiness of the salt water off the coast of Australia. It's eventually picked up by the Eastern Australian current. Now follow along. It eventually gets shoved into the Aqueous current southeast of Africa. By some rare oceanic conundrum, it drifts around until it is bumped into the northern Aqueous stream and eventually rounds the southern tip of Africa, where it is grasped by the Bangula current southwest of Africa. It bumbles and tumbles around for a couple of years between the current and the Brazil current off the eastern side of South America. Some sort of upper level wind action causes turmoil under the sea, shoots our object up to the equatorial current, still intact, of course. Then a tropical disturbance develops off the west coast of Africa, and our object hops around between the equatorial current and the counter-equatorial current and the equatorial current above the equator, where it then bops along the Canary Current off the west coast to the north part of Africa. Incidentally, this is where our Gulf Coast hurricanes like to form. So this disturbance ultimately generates hurricane force turbulence. Our object is brutally hurled into the Gulf Stream and finally sucked into the crushing Gulf waters. And for a change, this disturbance, by some mysterious phenomena, bypasses New Orleans. And when all is said and done, it's hurled up onto the shores of South Padre Island, where it is eventually discovered by a Texas Master Naturalist on turtle patrol. Okay, a bit fantastical, but you never know. Remember, the more ocean activity, the surface weather, the better the pickings on the beach. Oh, good, more fun with terminology. Flotsam and jetsam, and this is important to know. Although often used to describe odds and ends, each of these two words has a specific meaning under maritime law when it comes to marine debris associated with vessels. Flotsam is debris in the water that was not deliberately thrown overboard, and it's often as a result from a shipwreck or accident. The word is French for flotter, or to float. Jetsam is debris that was deliberately thrown overboard by a crew of a ship in distress, most often to lighten the ship's load. Jetson, think jettison, which is shortened to jetsam. So why law? Why is that important? Flotsam may be claimed by the original owner. Jetsam may be claimed as property of whomever discovers it and may collect proceeds received through the sale of the salvaged object. Attribution here is with NOAA. Now remember, they are under the Department of Commerce and like to define things. There's a little bit more fun with terminology. Beach litter or tide rack. Floating oceanic debris tends to accumulate at the center of the gyres. Remember those giant loops of moving water surrounding currents, and on coastlines, frequently washing aground where it is known as beach litter or tide rack. Tide rack also can be seaweed and similar marine vegetation and rubbish deposited along the shore by a receding tide. Rack just simply means biological debris. Rack line, the line of debris left on the beach by high tide, which is, by the way, and don't tell anybody I told this, but it's the Texas Master Naturalist Linda Butcher's secret place to look for sea beans. So these definitions come from English Language and Usage Stack Exchange, which is a site for linguists. Another definition, marine debris, according to NOAA, marine debris is any persistent solid material that is manufactured or processed and directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally, disposed of or abandoned into the marine environment or the Great Lakes. Just as a matter of interest, National Oceanic and Administrative Administration, remember NOAA is under Department of Commerce, they have a marine debris program that's mission is to investigate and remove problems that stem from marine debris in order to protect and conserve our nation's marine environment, natural resources, industries, economy, and people. A tall order. A majority of the trash and debris that covers our beaches and floats in our ocean comes from storm drains and sewers, as well as from shoreline and recreational activities such as picnicking and beach going. Abandoned or discarded fishing gear is also a major problem because this trash can entangle, injure, maim, and drown marine life and damage property. Step by step, all this information has been leading up to what we're all interested in, hunting for treasures from the sea. Now for the fun stuff, the pull that brings us all to the beach, beachcombing. According to Wikipedia, beachcombing is an activity that consists of an individual searching the beach and the intertidal zone, looking for things of value, interest, or utility. Beachcomber is a person who participates in the activity, of course, of beachcombing. Despite these general definitions, beachcombing and beachcomber are words with multiple but related meanings that have evolved over time. I think I've lost my place. Just a second. The first appearance of the word beachcombers in print was in Richard Henry Dana Jr.'s 2 years before the mast, which was written in 1840. It described a population of Europeans who lived in South Pacific islands, combing the beach and nearby water for flotsam, jetsam, and anything else they could use or trade. In addition, as things evolved, when a beachcomber became totally dependent upon coastal fishing for his sustenance, or abandoned his original culture and set of values, in other words, went native, then the term beachcomber was synonymous with a criminal, a drifter, or a bum. And still another aspect, whether in reality or dramatized for publication, while the vast majority of beachcombers were simply unemployed sailors, many may have chosen to live in Pacific Island communities, as described by Herman Melville in Typee, 1946 London, or Harry Frank in the book Vagabonding Around the World, printed in 1910 in New York. Today, fortunately, we're free to wander our beaches without stigma. This is a rather interesting lesson in the dynamics of swirling eddies and ebb and flow of seawater onto distant shores, making my earlier Australia to South Padre Island beach scenario not that outlandish. These duckies were the victims of a shipping container accident that occurred 21 years ago in 1992. The buoyant bath toys have been drifting all over the world in the decades since, serving as unintentional the ocean's currents. Members of the friendly floaties, a name given to these rubber ducks, have been discovered on the shores of Hawaii, Alaska, South America, Australia, the Pacific Northwest, and even the Arctic ice. Some 200 duckies are still circulating in the currents of the North Pacific Gyre, providing scientists with new information about what is now known as the Great Pacific Ocean Garbage Patch. They've even become the subject of a book called Moby Duck. So, this rubber duck tragedy wasn't to be buried lightly. According to a story from National Public Radio, in 1992, a cargo ship container tumbled into the North Pacific, dumping 28,000 rubber ducks and other bath toys that were headed from China to the US. The ducks were swept away by currents, and news reports said some may have actually reached Maine and other shores on the Atlantic, as well as those in the Pacific, Seattle, Alaska, Hawaii, and the Antarctic. 13 years after the duck spill, journalist Donovan Hahn undertook a mission. He wanted to track the movements of the wayward ducks from the comfort of his own living room. He was quoted in an interview as saying, "I figured I'd interview a few oceanographers, talk to a few beachcombers, read up on ocean currents and Arctic geography, and then write an account of the incredible journey of the bath toys lost at sea." He told this to Fresh Air's Dave Davies. "And all this I would do," he said, "I hoped, without leaving my desk." But Hahn's research led him on an odyssey that took him from Seattle to Alaska to Hawaii, and then into China and the Arctic. He details the journey via plane, foot, and container ship in Moby Duck, the true story of 28,800 bath toys lost at sea, and of the beachcombers, oceanographers, environmentalists, and fools, including the author, who went in search of them. If this is your interest in the book, the author also researches and ruminates on subjects of science and industry, wilderness, and civilization. He confronts the plague of accumulating plastics in the ocean and the difficulty of addressing the problem. I'm just happy to report that my flotilla of ducks is safe from the untangling, tumultuous ocean currents. So, another amazing story about things that fall off of ships at sea, from a snippet from the Under the Sea book and a lighthousememories.ca web article. On the 27th of May, 1990, a container vessel, Hansa Carrier, encountered a severe storm in the North Pacific Ocean, approximately 48 degrees north and 161 degrees west. It was on a passage from Korea to the United States. During the storm, a large wave washed 21 40-foot shipping containers overboard. 5 of these 20-meter containers held a shipment of approximately 80,000 Nike shoes, ranging from children's shoes to large hiking boots. It has been estimated that 4 of the 5 containers opened into the stormy waters, releasing more than 60,000 shoes into the North Pacific Ocean. The first reports of shoe landfalls came from Vancouver, Washington, the British Columbia Island northwest of Seattle, and the coast of Washington state approximately 220 days after the spill. A large number of shoes were recovered in the Queen Charlotte Islands further north of Vancouver, and also northern Oregon, suggesting that when the shoes neared the North American coast, some were diverted north and others south by coastal currents. Remember earlier where it was mentioned that when a current reaches land, it changes direction. Despite a year in the ocean, much of the footwear was in fine shape and wearable after a washing. Unfortunately, the shoes were not tied to one another, so that matching pairs did not always reach the beach together. In summer 1992, 2 years after the incident, shoes were reported arriving at the northern end of the island of Hawaii. After reaching North America, these shoes may have continued southward along the California coast and then been pushed off the coast by currents moving westward to Hawaii. A decade later, on the other side of the globe, another weird mystery, but first the backstory. During the 1980s, novelty plastic phones in the shape of the infamous lasagna-eating cartoon cat Garfield began appearing on beaches in Brittany, France. The mystery wasn't solved until nearly 30 years later, when in March of 2019, a shipping container filled with these devices was found in a sea cave where it had apparently settled after a storm some 30 years previously. Some not so fun beach finds are still periodically showing up on a number of foreign shores. 2 Second World War mines were discovered on a Cornish beach in 2008. The mines were spotted at low tide, wedged between rocks at Lusty Glaze Beach near Newquay, and dealt with by bomb disposal units. More recently, Storm Emma uncovered 2 more unexploded bombs in March of 2018 that had been lying underneath the Pebble Beach at Slapton in Devon. The arrows show the north side of the Cornish coast at Newquay in the Celtic Sea and the southern coast of Devon Beach in the English Channel. Not all iron found on the English beaches is potentially dangerous. This Harley Davidson was salvaged after being found on the usually deserted Branscombe Beach, a stretch of shingle along the Jurassic coast, again in Devon, and was found on a cold day, January 2007. The shore was strewn with valuable cargo that was washed ashore in shipping containers from the stricken container ship MSC Napoli that had been damaged in a storm. Of course, not just man-made products wash ashore on the world's beaches. Marine life gets beached too. In 2014, beachgoers on the western coast of the United States were confronted by millions of squishy blue animals resembling jellyfish, but each was topped with a rigid structure resembling a sail. Each of these tiny organisms, called by the wind sailors, measures about 2 3/4 inch in length. They typically inhabit the open ocean, preferring warm waters in locations around the world. Every few years, storm activity can sweep them toward coastal regions where they pile up on beaches in enormous quantities. In 2009 or 2010, dead and dying by the wind sailors accumulated on the California beach to a depth of several feet, according to an oceanographer who told Live Science in 2014. So, more fun with terminology. Driftwood is a popular beach find for many people. Driftwood is a noun, wood that is floating and that has been washed ashore, according to Princeton's WordNet. Wiktionary defines it as floating pieces of wood that drifts with the current, such a piece of wood that has been cast ashore. We're not the only nation keen on scouring the beaches for this coveted beach treasure. Just for fun, these are just a few of the nations that have a word for driftwood. So here's an interesting, if uncommon, example of driftwood. This giant piece was discovered on a New Zealand beach, completely covered in gooseneck barnacles. Hundreds of people flocked to Muriwai Beach near Auckland, New Zealand, to catch a glimpse of this strange-looking object that had washed up in 2016. Dubbed the Muriwai Monster, locals guessed it was everything from a Maori canoe to an alien pod. But according to the New Zealand Marine Sciences Society, the object was most likely a large piece of driftwood covered in gooseneck barnacles. So some of the treasures I was curious about and captured with my camera and left on the beach one April have subsequently been identified via iNaturalist.org and verified by Texas Master Naturalists Linda Butcher and Linda McGonigal. They are from left, a mermaid's purse, coconut palms, and sea almond. And those two women that I named are experts with sea beans, but they will tell you more about themselves at another time. So now that I have figured out the arrows, regardless, or rather because of, dangerous and destructive sea creatures, turbulent storms at sea, biofouling, stuff that falls off ships, and the fickleness of tides, the beach pulls wanderers seeking treasures from the deep as strongly as the moon pulls the tide. Treasures for the taking to whomever gets there first. So I do have a little announcement, and later I'll announce about a writing club, but the Valley has a shell club, and it's been in existence for more than 80 years. It meets in Port Isabel. They generally have a guest speaker. They meet the last Sunday of the month in the afternoon, and the dues are $8 or $10, single or family, and that's annual. And Pam Bradley, the current president, said that she'd be more than happy to take your emails if you're interested in joining Shell Club. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you. And here's this again. If you want Pam Bradley's email, that's bradpam@att.net.
Anita,
Yes, how do I get back? Wait.
try Alt Tab.
I can't find
How to unshare?
Oh,
The
I just let's.
did you wipe it out? Am I
Yeah.
here?
Yeah,
I'm
you're
here.
back. I guess you're seeing my screen now.
I see a blue window.
I can't figure out how to get out of it myself now.
Do you want me to stop video?
No, I
No,
got you
no.
out. Now I'm stuck. I don't even see WebEx.
I know. It disappeared here. Oh, I've got WebEx, but I don't need it now. Oh, I'm sorry, Joseph.
Well, I
How
thought
do
I
we
had
get
a
back?
simple solution.
Yeah, get on a piece of driftwood and float
The
on over
controls
to.
go up to the top.
It just doesn't pop up. Can you maybe try sharing your screen and it'll kick me off?
Yes.
Well, I meant Jennifer, because
Cannot.
she may be able to get out.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
give me 1 second. I don't have it.
There. Okay. Oh, that's great. We got out of it.
Is everybody good?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yes.
think we managed to figure out the technical issue.
Better you than me.
Anita, I have a question.
Yes.
Mermaid's purse. It looks like some sort of egg case. Is that what it is?
Oh, good boy. Yes, indeed. And Linda McGonigal is on here, and she could probably explain more about it. Unless she left. It's a skate, SKATE egg case, and not the kind you put on your feet, Bill.
The flatfish kind.
Are there other questions? Lots of excellent presentation, great presentations, etc. And Linda says it's a relative of a stingray.
Joni had left a message. Check out Ocean Soul, where in Africa they turn washed up flip-flops into beautiful caved art.
Oh, that's awesome.
And there's a group on South Padre Island who work on a project like that. They go and collect the junk and garbage and do artwork with it.
What was that? What was that website? Ocean.
It's in the chat. Let me look.
Ocean Soul, SOLE. I don't know if it's a website.
Oh, I'll look. That's great. Oh, how fun.
Okay, any other
Oh, she's
question?
carved art. I
Well,
said caved art.
then I'll have you on the line. I was looking real quick to see if there were other questions. Yeah. Um, while you're still on the line, do you want to take a minute and talk about your workshop that you're offering?
Well, yes. I really hope everybody can come because it's going to be more fun than just learning. And what my intent always is to just get people in love with words and enthused about hooking them together into sentences. There's a really long thing from Tom on the chat, and it goes away so quick. Anyway, I'm hoping that we have enough people so that we can have it at Warbler Hall, which is, I guess, part of Estero Llano Grande, but it's not really for public. It's where we're going to have our graduation for the South Texas Border Chapter, and there's some really cool trails right next to it. But the first 3 hours are kind of intensive listening and getting excited about writing for the first 2 hours. The third hour is mostly photographer in a point and shoot, everything's auto world, and how to make stunning photographs, even though you're just pointing and shooting at an object. So the fourth hour is going to be optional. If you want to bring a bag lunch, then we'll sit around and eat lunch, and I'll answer more questions and discuss writing if you'd like. And then if we eat quick enough, we'll all go out and explore some of those interesting trails and do photography if anyone wants. What else can I say? Please sign up. It'll be really a fun day and a fun way to meet other people that maybe don't want to write, and you can enthuse each other.
Can you give us the date?
Pardon?
Date.
What date?
Oh, you all have not looked at your email, I see. So it's a Saturday at 10 a.m., April 8th. 10 to, we've blocked 10 o'clock in the morning to 2 a.m. because we're also hoping that our sister chapter members might want to join that as well. It's actually, this is interesting to know, it's about writing for workshop, or it's about writing for newsletters. So it's easy, fun, and not scary.
Is there a cost?
And if you
No,
yeah, if
not
you
if
want
you're,
to sign up, yeah.
yeah. Oh, do email me. And if you're on the South Texas Border Chapter listserv, my email is in the notification that's come from Becky Jones. Please send the email to Joni. Okay. Would somebody take that note? Joni
Yeah.
from Rio
Do that.
Grande. Oh, thank you.
Right. And it's on the flyer. Her email's on the flyer too. She asked for the RSVP because she's going to have handouts, and we want to be sure there's enough handouts for everyone.
Yeah, and if somebody would like to do this, Starbucks has wonderful pumpkin cream cheese muffins. Just throwing that out there. How much is in the treasury?
That's a lot of muffins.
We're trying to bribe them to come to your workshop.
Not
It does
really,
count
but I'm
for,
really hungry for one of those muffins.
Joyce
does
asked,
count for,
is it
What,
in person
Jennifer?
only or a hybrid?
Oh no, in person only.
Yeah, I don't think they have much of an internet connection out there.
and this does count for AT, right?
What?
It
Yes,
said
you
it
can.
counts for AT.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can get
'Cause
either 3 or 4 hours.
we want
4 hours
everybody to
into
be
your.
writing for newsletters and spreading our knowledge to everybody else.
Well, that's supposed to be a secret. Yes, the ultimate goal is to get more people to write for our joint newsletter. And the reason is it's a really cool tool, the newsletter. I've been in love with newsletters probably all my life. I think I was born with a newsletter in my hand. But it's a great way. A special newsletter like what we have is a great way to inform people without somebody having to stand up and give lectures. But it also lets people know what each of us are doing. It gives each other ideas. I just think, oh, I just can't say enough. I love newsletters, so I'll hush now.
That's very good. And we do want to share that invitation with our sister chapter. So we'll be sure and get you one of the flyers officially. But yeah, because it's intended for both chapters to enjoy this opportunity. It's fun to join the other chapter. Many of you have figured that out on our field trips and such, and we want to do more of things together. I think, especially with things opening up and more activities going on. Okay, well,
I do
thank you so much.
one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm kind of asking permission. I'd kind of like to ask or invite the Shell Club, although most of the members are Master Naturalists anyway. But I think that if that they have a newsletter, and I'd like to invite Native Plant Project, some of the people in that as well. Although most of them are Master Naturalists, but if you don't mind, that would probably just be a handful of people.
Well, I think you're the one running it.
Yes, if you want to share that with those groups, that little flyer, that'd be great.
I'd like to, yes, thank you. We'll do that. All right.
All right. All right. With that, it's 7:15. So those of you who are here for AT credit, that's 45 minutes or 0.75, 75% of an hour. It's 45 minutes for advanced training, and we will go ahead and proceed with our business portion of the meeting. I'm going to pull up my agenda. Thank you again, Anita. All right, and I was going to look real quick. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order at 7:15, and I've got attendance by the logins. I've gotten those corralled pretty well. Our treasury reports and minutes were attached. The minutes of the last meeting were a bit lengthy, but I didn't see anything unusual or out of order at all. We had a pretty good attendance that evening too. She went over the speakers. She pretty much followed the agenda in typing up the minutes. And unless somebody has anything they've spotted, we can accept those as distributed. And then if somebody spots anything they have a question about, you can email us and we'll see about correcting it or resolving any questions you have. Especially if we happen to misspell somebody's name or something, we'll get that corrected for you. And then the treasurer's report was submitted. And did I see? I was trying to remember. I didn't remember seeing Gail here this evening, but she did our finance report, and that information is there for reviewing. And she included income of memberships dues and expenses of just some bank charges and credit card fees, a new class church, and one class fee refund. And that would have been through the end of February, because this is just our March meeting. And then she also submitted the budget report. So you can see how we're doing so far as matching up our figures for our proposed budget for the year. So if you have any questions, Gail will be available in the near future to start helping us more with that. And we will put those on file for audit for when that comes along. And then let me get back to, okay, Jennifer, do you want to talk about future programs and what's going on there?
So our April program is actually going to be tied in with our new class graduation. It'll be Saturday, April 11th. Wait, do I have the wrong date? It's sorry, Tuesday, April 11th. We changed the date. Tuesday, April 11th at Estetto. So we will be having our April meeting in person with the graduation all at one time. So I hope that everyone will be able to come and help us celebrate our new class and get to meet them in person. And I do think we may be working on streaming the program as well. We need to see if the internet connection will cooperate, but we're going to try and provide that also.
Okay, and we'll be sending out a flyer requesting the RSVP because it'll be a covered dish, and we expect everybody to come bring plenty of food so we have plenty to eat. Not that that's our priority by any means, but and then we'll be furnishing the brisket. So watch for that flyer with the RSVP for that graduation event, which is going to be our April program. Okay, and I know I saw Ronnie on here earlier. Ronnie, would you like to give any membership report?
Sure. I was going to share my screen, but I just need the, I guess
You
I
can now.
You should be able to go
permissions.
now.
Sweet. Thank you, guys. And WebEx always does like that weird sharing thing. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Or my screen? I mean, you can see your screen. Can you
Yes.
see
Yep.
my
Looks good.
report? Alrighty. So really quickly, hi everybody. Hope you all are doing well. I'm just gonna go this way so that I don't create more issues. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't let me make this smaller. Alrighty. So for February of this year, we have 135 hours entry eligible members. So that's our active members from dues paid, and for those of members that are still in training. Again, we're still kind of sitting with we're still dealing with like COVID, like vestigial COVID classes, I guess, right? So then we have those classes where individuals who are still eligible to become certified and be members. So that's 46 of them. Our class this year is 29. So there's just a handful of others from previous classes that are eligible for hours entry. Let's see, overall as a chapter, so we see that 106, right? So we look at the participation as a chapter. We see that 47 unique members log service or AT hours. So a little bit less than a third, no, yeah, of our membership, and they did so through 28 unique opportunities. So out of that, 39 unique members logged volunteer hours through 17 unique opportunities, and that totaled 716 and 50 hour 0.5 hours of service, which is pretty great for February. And 32 members logged AT hours. It's a little bit of a snag right there on the 0.45 hours. So we need to go back in there and just fix that to get it back to the quarter hours. But still great participation. And I'm very happy that I use Google Sheets to like share things out, but then I'm very unhappy when I try to make like a quick graph in there. I just need to move over things to Excel and make myself smile again. But we can see that. And so again, so here's what I want you to see. You have 2021, 2022, and 2023. I cannot figure out for the life of me how to label those suckers, but those colors are in order of the years, right? So 2021 is blue, 2022 is red, and 2023 is that yellow, right? So you can see our participation, or the hours of volunteer service that have been logged throughout those years, right? So a little bit lower in the whole of 2022, but looking pretty nice in 2023. You know, our hours are well above those two trend lines, or those two lines, excuse me. So pretty nice, pretty nice. And what does that mean in terms of our impact? So with that multiplied with the 28 and 54 cents, $28.54 that we get per hour, that's $20,000 worth of a little bit above $20,000 worth of impact through our membership. It's pretty great. And our year to date, just in the past 2 months, is $41,925.26. So pretty great stuff. And again, that's a lot of really great advanced training hours that people are taking part in. And I didn't get to break it down the way I'd like to, but the nice thing is that that kind of jump is really coming from that large class size and a very active new class in terms of volunteerism. So really great participation and assistance on their part, and excited to see how that carries on throughout the year. So when it comes to that, when it comes to those service hours, just a quick reminder about when you can, and it's not like I'm going to be chasing after anybody, but it's nice to have it because then that informs the decisions that the state and the feds can use based off of the data that they're receiving. So anytime that you're out there, please enter any impact data that you can. It's super helpful, and it doesn't have to be like a wild guess, just like the best guess that you can provide, and it just takes a few more seconds, and you're already providing whenever you are entering your services into VMS. So that's all for me. Any questions, or does anybody need anything? I think I owe people some reports, but I'm getting on that.
All right. Thank you so much, Ronnie. It's good to have you.
Yep.
Okay. I think next up is Ann and Jim Jerry about the training class.
I think generally we're doing well. Thank you, Jennifer, for announcing our next really big event, which is graduation on April 11th. We seem to have that planning in place to make that successful. Good class this last week with the wetlands and the field trip, I think went well as well. Thank you, Donna, for attending and paying for that. We got some upcoming field trips. We have class tomorrow night and then our final class a week from tomorrow. So we're going to end up here pretty soon. We got a few field trips yet to go. We have 3 on birding actually, which we overloaded, but just we're trying to get extra hours, I think. And so really been very impressed with the students. As Ronnie said, we're getting more participation in hours. We're seeing them active. They're attending the RGB chapter to get extra hours in field trips. I'm just generally thrilled with how things are going. Ann, anything you want to add?
No, I think you covered it pretty good. I've got to compliment Jim on taking over so quickly, so fast, and so efficiently, because last week I spent almost the whole week in the cardiac hospital and probably got more coming. I have to have another procedure. So I haven't been the kind of help I was at the beginning of these classes to Jim, but he's doing a great job. I'm proud of him. I'm glad I found you, Jim.
Well, I'm grateful to all the members. Ruhr was there as usual for the field trip. Donna was there. Jennifer's always there to back me up. Joseph has been terrific. So it really does take everybody's efforts to make this happen. Robert's going to help us out as usual. So I'm very grateful for everyone to chip in the way you have.
Exactly. I did all that.
Yes, it is a great team area. Yeah, it's a great team effort, and that's throughout our chapter. Everything that goes on, we've managed to pick up all the pieces so that everything keeps going. So I think I have next, and I do see River here. If River wants to tell us information about our awards and recognition.
Yes, hello everyone. We do have some awards and recognition. On the 2023 recertifications, we have John McKee, Ellie Kidd. Now, Ellie is a trainee right now, and so this is, pending her initial certification, which will hopefully happen after tomorrow night. She'll have all her hours in. Janie McGee, Susan Coleman, Kathy Ton, Lori Archambault. All of those have recertified since our last meeting. The 100-hour milestone is Ellie Kidd, again, pending her initial certification. And the 250-hour milestone is Ronnie Escareño. I'm going to put those in. If I can get this going. So they're in the chat for whomever's taking, the
Okay.
notes.
All
And
right.
for everybody to see. So congratulations, everyone. I do have the recertification pins in, some of them, and I've ordered more. So hopefully at the graduation and / meeting, we will, if you are recertified, you can pick it up then. And I just want to say for the trainees, you initially certify, and then if you do an additional 40 volunteer hours and an additional 8 advanced training hours, then you can also recertify and earn that Texas pin that we're getting this year. Just so you know. All right, thank you. That's it.
All right.
I have a
Yes, Ann.
question. I have the recertification certificate, so I was wondering if River or Donna, if you have the completing the program graduation certificates that we put in the folder.
And the class completion certificate, Javier is going to print them out. He usually
Okay.
does.
Okay.
And the initial
Thanks.
certification certificates are the ones you have.
Yeah, I
I'm
have those,
ordering.
and I passed
I
them on to
think,
Jim, and I think Donna signed them, so they're
I
ready.
yeah, I
have
think there,
14 of them signed with me.
I was about to say, I think, yeah, Jim told me there was 14. I have ordered some more so that in case, we need them.
I think I have more here too, so.
Yeah.
Okay, and all the pins, River, you have all the pins for that night? If
I do. I have all the
Okay.
pins and I will take them with me.
Okay, all right. I think we're good then. Me and
All right.
Jim will get together on the folders and filling those up with the proper certificates when Ronnie tallies up everything at the end of our classes. Like I said,
Yes.
10th class is tomorrow night, and then we have one more. And then I think we got 2 weeks till graduation to put this all together, so. Hopefully, if I stay out of the hospital, we'll get it done. I'm telling you, I never know. I was
If
only,
not, you can pass the buck to somebody else and it'll get picked up.
thank you, thank you.
All right.
We'll get her
Any
done.
other announcements, River? Okay.
No, that's it. Thank you, Donna.
All right. And I have communications committee. I know Anita's made her big announcement. Anita, did you have anything else you wanted to discuss or mention?
I do just want to mention, if you haven't seen your emails, I talked about in the McAllen Monitor Saturday edition, I talked about the rare Bailey's ball moss, and then I segued into an announcement of our participation in our outreach booth at the Home and Garden Show. And I did the same thing in the blog this morning that I sent out this morning about nectar guides, but then I also talked about our booth. I had no idea that we would get such a big billing, Robert, on the presentations. So I'm not sure. I'm half tempted to send out a media release just announcing all of that. I don't know if it would get used, but I could certainly send it out. then of course I'll do up flyers that we can have for the 3 days that we're working the booth. What do you think about a media release talking about our presentations?
I think that's a great idea. Some people might not be aware there's presentations if it's not brought to their attention.
All right.
I like it too, Anita.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good idea. Also, I will be sending out that information via email to the rest of the members as well, as soon as I get it put together.
Right. So, okay, I'll work on a media release then. Do that.
And again, we want our members and trainees to be a part, go and support our speakers. We have three of y'all that are doing that for us. So yeah, good idea.
All right, we'll do. And that's all I have.
All right. And Joseph, I know you're not in the valley right now, but do you have anything you'd like to say or comment?
I don't have a lot. I definitely haven't looked at the web stats lately. I do have, which I accidentally shared a little while ago. We're working on, and I've just ordered the business cards for the, so we can hand out, tell people who we are. And we've left a blank at the bottom. You can write your phone number and name or any info you need. And our QR code takes us right to the website. So this should be a big improvement over our previous card. And what else did I have? And we're also working on a fourth sheet flyer style double-sided card with more information and talks about our classes with a little bit of details that we can hopefully get done in time for the garden show. So we'll have those at the at our table. And then also we've had some interest in writing a blog, or at least, I don't know, regular, but at least a blog post. And we're definitely up for that. We just, I've been not around the computer too much, so I haven't been communicating as much as usual, but we'll get that figured out soon.
Okay. Yeah, and we did, I went ahead and ordered some business cards, but it's good if you order some more too, because I think, yeah, we wanted to be sure we got those, and we've gotten those. But and we did the one flyer. We got 100 copies of that one flyer that was the front and back, that was a separate folder or a separate file that you sent me.
Okay.
So those two we have ready to go. So just in case those
Okay.
others don't come in, that's okay. But if they do, that's great too. I think we're going to have enough activities. We will use it up. And if we have all those extra business cards, then I feel confident a lot of our members can take a little handful of those with them and share them with at any activities they go to. So that's super, super, super. Okay. All right. I don't know that I saw Kathy Ton on here this evening. I was trying to keep up with people, but I don't see her.
She doesn't appear to be here.
No, she just wanted to mention again the annual meeting, and she is interested in stepping down as state rep. And so if anyone of our members would like to take the position of state rep, she, because of a lot of issues that are going on with her and how busy she's been otherwise, she's ready to turn the reins over to somebody else to handle that. So keep that in mind, and if anyone's interested, you can get hold of me or even Robert Hernandez. Robert's real good. He's been past president and knows all this stuff that goes on, and he's on our nominating committee every year. But do let us know if you'd be interested in taking up the slack there. She's done it for ever since I've been around. So if somebody can share the load and take that responsibility, we'd appreciate that. And advanced training and field trips. I think I saw Becky Jones on here. Becky, I know you sent out stuff.
Sorry, before we move on
Yeah.
from the state meeting, Joseph had sent out an email to everyone about feedback for the field sessions for the state meeting. I've just put the link in the chat. It's a Google form. We have so many amazing places to go in the Valley. We're trying to narrow it down. For the official field sessions, we're going to have lots of unofficial ones, but there's also a section on that form to talk about, the volunteer work that you do and maybe why that's informed your choices, because with the field sessions, we really want to highlight the work that we're doing here as master naturalists. And I've been reading the responses, so it's been really fascinating to hear all the different volunteer work that everybody does. So I think Anita's been working on the story project for TMN. And so maybe we can get some good feedback from there also about the volunteer work our members are doing. So if you can fill out that form, if you haven't already, I'd appreciate it.
I have not had any response about you're talking about the story
storytelling.
No one has contacted me about anything about that. When's the deadline on that? Anybody
I
know?
don't know that I've seen a deadline. The state has only just this last week contacted us about a meeting with them, with our chairs and stuff. So we'll discuss that a little bit more. But yeah, do be sure and fill out those forms, because that's helping us in our planning and discussions with the state people. Okay, now Becky.
Okay. Well, I have one question, Jennifer. Are there any field trips where they could have two stops? Like one stop, like stop one and then stop two?
See, that is my feeling too. I haven't even submitted my form because I can't narrow it down to 5. I have no idea how the logistics work. So maybe that's something that Donna would know better. I just create the form.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree because we have so many places and some of them are very close to each other. It'd be great to be able to visit all of them, but I'm not really sure what the time constraints are or how the state runs them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw something out there. Well, for one thing, there are two that came to my mind that are very close together. And I thought, well, that would be kind of fun. They sort of blended together and it was kind of hard to choose one. But the other thing I'm going to throw out right now is, I checked, how can I say, I took photographs of our chapter project at the Cancer Center, and it's really the plants are looking good. I mean, I thought it would be kind of a shame not to maybe swing by there on the way going down, because it's only 3 miles from the convention center. So I thought, if they were going down to Weslaco, they could stop there and then go down to Weslaco, for instance, just an idea.
Well, that's definitely worth looking at. We just hadn't thought of including that because I didn't think they'd want a big group there.
Well, to be honest, I haven't gotten everything we do has to be okay, with the center, but I just thought about it and I thought, when the description talked about activities where master naturalists participate in the community, I thought, well, that would check that box.
Yeah, for sure.
And I
Yeah,
mean, if I were really sort of thinking about it, I would get a city commissioner there, the one who was there last time, to talk about how we had the opening and how the city appreciates it, etc. Just an idea.
Yeah, well, so far on our form, we don't really, even Donna and I, we've been to all the meetings and we just don't know much yet. The state hasn't, they're going to have our first official meeting next, was a week and a half away or something.
Yeah, April 10th. So, although I did see today, just a while ago, they sent out a call for presentations, and we have a list of presenters. Between the two chapters, we've developed a big long list of people we think would give good presentations, and we'll be sending that out to those people so that hopefully they will a half a dozen emails from different people wanting them to do that. But if they do, that just shows how enthusiastic we are about them doing a presentation. But yeah, so the state's been a little behind in working with us on this.
Well,
they've sent their apologies. So, yes, I think
guess
that's a good idea.
With regard to advanced training, what I'm, oh, is it okay if I go on, Donna?
Yeah.
Okay. With regard to advanced training, what I've been trying to do is sort of coordinate all the different possibilities into fewer or into just maybe one or two emails, because I think sometimes people kind of get confused with some of the emails coming through and they may not check them all. So slowly but surely I'll coordinate, bring all of those different partners that we have, do a list to make sure that I at least contact the partners, and then some of the other recommendations that I've been sent by some of you, to have a running list and hopefully send out maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. Like this time it'll be twice a week, because I wanted to have Anita's presentation as one email, solo email that could also maybe be sent to the other chapter, for one thing. The other thing that Don and I were talking about was the fact that, I'll be honest and say, I didn't realize that this particular position included field trips. And so I'm going to be gone. I'm in and out of town, and I'll be gone the month of June, for instance. So what I'm looking at is that is maybe starting a committee. There should be a committee, an AT committee, AT field trip committee, and I would like anybody who would like to help on this committee to contact me. My email address is there on the email that I send out. If not, I will put it at the end of this AT opportunity email that I send out. Primarily, I guess, looking at field trips. Let me throw this out. Is there an interest, for instance, and once again, Donna and I were talking about this, going to visit um, a palm tree, I want to say orchard, not really, a palm tree stand, and maybe doing something about bats. Joseph, does that interest you, to go to,
To talk about bats or to listen about bats?
well, we were thinking maybe listening.
Like, do you have a speaker in mind? Because I know so little about bats.
Well, I mean, this is something that maybe, once again, we can brainstorm on, on a committee, or, just have an email, how can I say,
Yeah,
exchange.
we can discuss it, and I would definitely be interested, and I could bring the bat detector. I just
Well,
don't know
that's what
enough
we,
about bats to really talk about them for an hour. I
well, the one field trip that I thought I could arrange, and let me throw out, maybe somebody knows, a conflict would be on May 13th. And once again, it would be next to Santa Ana. There's also a private lake that's beautiful, and I contacted the owners. It's close, very close to Santa Ana, and it's well known for birding and butterflies. And that would be open as well on the 13th of May. Is there a conflict on that particular day that I'm not aware of? It's after graduation, so does that sound like a possible, at least initial field trip?
I don't see anything on my calendar, and I don't think anybody else has mentioned that date.
Robert, do you see anything? No? Well, let me check. Joseph, how are you on the 13th?
Yeah, it seems all right to me.
Okay, let me go ahead and see, what we can do. And once again, it's with, I'll get together with you, Joseph, and we can maybe figure out somebody who can talk about bats. Or maybe Anita, do you know somebody with regard to bats?
Um, you know what? I think somebody in the other chapter does.
I think, am I on? Yes. I think Ernie, that's a possibility. I can ask him.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and check, the availability, et cetera, and get together with Joseph. I think that's all, just, once again, I'm not trying to load too much work on anybody who might sign up for the committee, but if I could have, more input, or at least form a committee, I'll put that at the end of the email that goes out with AT opportunities. Does anybody have any suggestions or anything like that that I need to include?
Thought just popped into my head is arranging a visit to Mike Heat in Harlingen and
Oh, yeah.
buy some native plants.
Yeah.
He supplies native plants for the forestry service and that, for the reforestation type thing.
Oh.
He has tons of stuff, and that might be something interesting. He's an interesting guy.
Oh, yeah. No, he's fabulous. Oh, he's so knowledgeable. That would be a good idea too. Okay. I'll contact
All
Mike
right.
and see if he has an available time or date. Good.
All right.
Bill,
And I
would you like
know,
to be on my committee?
and
Well,
Johnny Gillis
uh,
has in the chat. Yeah, Johnny Gillis added to the chat that there's a student at UTRGV who's studying bat. Maybe we
okay.
could contact a professor there to find out who that is. So we'll do some
That sounds
follow-up.
good.
So everybody, note May 13th as a tentative date for a field trip or a
Okay.
field activity, and that might include the bat, using the bat detecting equipment.
Okay,
And,
that sounds good. Okay,
all
thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you so much, Becky, for taking on the AT stuff. We appreciate you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
And like I say, she'll be posting those AT opportunities. I've already mentioned the April 8th writing workshop, and Anita discussed that. Okay, Susan's up next for volunteer project, and I listed what I knew about on the agenda so everybody would have it right to hand.
I'd
And
like,
Susan, are you?
yeah, I'm here, sort of, halfway. I did, I was talking to Connie over at Estero the other night, and she is one of the wood campers who helps with the school groups, and she will be leaving. So they are really going to be needing Master Naturalists to step up and help with the school groups. As I don't know that if they have filled it for this Friday, I have not heard one way or the other, but then there have been some additional dates added. So anyone who's interested, contact Becky at Estero. Then Donna, you know more about the nature night than I do. We do have 2
Yes.
volunteers, but the person who's going to head that up is going to be unable to. So we need, is that me
And
echoing?
a little bit. We did have Diana Medina who got back to me and says she has been working with the children in nature, and she can head up an activity and lead that. So again, if there's anyone else who wants to volunteer for that nature night, March 24th, go ahead and email me, and I'll be sure you get the directions there, and we'll keep in touch with Diana Medina on that.
Okay, very good. And Robert has sent out many requests and is getting his list of volunteers. So do you think you have plenty at this point, or do you still need more?
Yeah, that's a tentative schedule, working schedule. I mean, we have like 3 more that have signed up just today, so that's great. We especially need more people on Saturday, if possible. That's our busiest day, but Friday and Sunday, you're more than welcome to assist us as well. We do have plenty of tasks to be done, and kind of like go and support our speakers, help them out with setting up, etc., announcing to the public that they will be having these sessions. All kinds of activities that, as I pointed out in the emails that I've sent out. So yes, contact any of us, and we'll sign you up. And we'll have a set schedule next week sometime.
And Susan, before you go on, Bill, did you have a comment to make about the Home and Garden Show? You're muted. Yeah, you're still muted. There you go.
I mean, I got to say all that again. Um, thank you. I'm in charge of making the labels for the plants, and I don't know what I do without Anita help me with that stuff, identifying these things. But we need to have people to tell us what plants they have. You know, you send it to Robert, copy me and Anita, so we'll all know what's coming in. If anything, if you don't know the quantities, just let us know what it is. It's always better to have too many than not have enough. We don't want to be trying to make labels by hand on the day of the show. That's just too awkward. So let us know what you have as soon as possible. Now, I have something here, if I may. Well, I'm getting some feedback here. Hold on, let me share something here if I can figure out how to do this. Okay, can somebody make me the presenter?
You can now.
Okay. This is the thing. What I want to do is that a lot of people might be hesitant to help at the show because they don't know anything about the plants. If somebody customer asks, what about this plant or that plant, they don't, they're uncomfortable with trying to explain it and looking for that. So what I'm trying to do, I'm working with Anita to create a catalog and have a cross-reference from the plants to a catalog that talks about the plants. And here's how it works. Here's the labels. The labels are going to be 2 by 4 inches. And you notice one label here, they have numbers under them. And you see this Texas Mountain Laurel label. It has a number 9 on it. What that means, that references our catalog. And we're going to have a 3-ring binder that'll have pages with all of the plants in there, God willing. And so you see the number 9, Texas Mountain Laurel. You go to the catalog in the binder and you go down here to number 9 and you see it says Texas Mountain Laurel on page 10. So then you go down to open it up and go to number 9, which is on page 10, and you can see all about the mountain laurel. And if you don't know anything about mountain laurels and a customer is asking you about it, you can show the picture and do this. Also, if someone wants to learn about a plant, they can look at the number on the pot and then they can just go to the catalog and they can learn a little bit about that native plant. So trying to do this, but we have to we have to know what is coming in early in order for us to be able to do this. And Anita is helping me with her blurbs, and but we can't do it at the last minute. So we'll try to have them all, but we'll have as many as we can. How do I get out of this? Okay.
You were muted.
Yeah, now. So please let us have your what plants you're bringing as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Bill, and you too, Robert, for all the work y'all have been working on this, and Anita too. You're going to make this very successful as usual. And Susan, I think the only other thing on the list was I did mention the May 2nd and 3rd, the virtual volunteer fair. They have sent out the call for opportunities to be presented at the volunteer fair, and so
And I,
that is something you want to put on your calendar.
right. And I will not be here. I will be in Seattle. And on that Tuesday, I'll be on an airplane all day. So you guys
Okay.
need to go and let me know what I miss.
All right. And I have not very often called on our director for Winter Texans, and I did not give her any advance notice that I was going to put her on the agenda. Mary Baker is our director. For those of you who don't know that, we have a director specifically for the Winter Texans. Mary, do you have anything to say? I know a lot of the Winter Texans are leaving now.
Yes, we are. I'm going to leave next week, but I hope to work on continuing to identify winter Texans in the chapter this summer.
Okay, and we will be trying to identify and work on hybrid meetings so that even when we go in person, we can do them hybrid so your winter Texans can still have an opportunity to participate with hybrid meetings as opposed to all virtual meetings. So you can pass that word along, and those of you that are on tonight, keep us in mind. We're not forgetting you. And y'all have safe travels, everyone who's leaving. Anita?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mary, I have a question for you. Do you have, or do you know how to get a list of Winter Texan Park activity directors?
I do not have, but I can work on that, Anita.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Okay. All right. And Anne, you had a question? Go ahead, unmute.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say a few things about the annual meetings. I think I've been to 3 or 4 of them, and we have people from all over the state that come for the annual meeting, and they mostly want to know and see what's different about your area that they've come to for the annual meeting. What do you have? What kind of plants, butterflies, flowers, birds that you have? So they take them on field trips to see those kind of things so they can get familiar and see how it's different from where they come from. And if I can remember correctly, it's field trips in the morning. I think all the ones I've been on in the morning, but I know they do have some afternoons and they even have some evenings with the stars and things. And other than that, if people don't choose to go on a field trip, there's nothing that interests them that day, then they just stay back at the convention center and go to a presentation. They go to speakers and they don't have to sign up. They just go in and out of these rooms. If they see something on the schedule that interests them, then they go to that presentation. And the field trips, if they go out in the morning, they come back for lunch, or they have lunch and they have something else, a tour in the afternoon. So they're always there for meals, breakfast, and then presentations and field trips, and then lunch, and then dinner in the evening, and then the big banquet. So that's what I've seen on the field trips that or the annual meetings that I've been to, just to give you a little idea of how it goes. And then they have the silent auction that people can walk through. They have the writing contest. They have the artwork. So there's lots of things to look at in either can be the lobby or another main room that the hotel has for these kind of things. So there's lots to do, people to interact with, fun things. I mean, if you're interested in, say, spiders or moss or butterflies, there's a group for that. And when you're at the presentation, you interact with each other. So to me, it's a real fun time. And at the banquet, they have announcement, and every chapter is usually presented at the banquet. And when they announce your chapter, everybody from your chapter stands up and they applaud you. And then they have a group picture. So everybody from that chapter stands up with they have all the names of all the chapters, and then you hold your chapter name and all the people in your group that attended the annual meeting. I mean, it's real fun. I enjoy it. I go to everyone I possibly can, and just to give you some ideas.
All right. Thank you, Anne. Because that was one of my next upcoming things. I think she's really covered it pretty well. We've already mentioned that we'll be meeting with the other chapter. The state is just now asking to get together with us, and they've just now sent out a request for presenters to send in their information. So we'll be sharing that and more. Under my notes, that was one thing I wanted to mention, the annual meeting, which is pretty well covered. Bill Rich resigned as treasurer, and Gail Rice, who was our previous treasurer, agreed to resume those duties. And I'm going to be getting together with her this week to get that stuff to her. So we appreciate her stepping back up. And there's just a couple of other little things. anybody who watched TMN Tuesday earlier this month, they talked about the Texas Water Specialist, and there's special training for that. And in conjunction with the annual meeting, they always do their presentation and some field trips for Texas Water Specialist certification. So if you go ahead and look at some of the AT that Becky sends out, you'll see a whole section of Texas Water Specialist webinars you can attend. If you attend 4 hours of those that are identified for that program, and then attend the annual meeting session, you can be certified as a Texas Water Specialist. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you'd have time to get those other 4 hours of AT in the Water Specialist. That does not have to be separate, that it can be included in the 8 hours total AT for the year. So that's just something to keep in mind for before the annual meeting is here, or if you want to get that Water Specialist certification. And you can check with me, or there's a lot of explanation on that Texas Water Specialist website that'll give you some more information. And if you look at the AT list that Becky sends out, there's a link to that site and to their offerings. And we did get a note from Sam Klein, who's been a member for years. His health is deteriorating, but he wanted to let everybody know that he's not able to work and do some volunteer AT right now because of some medical issues, but he always enjoys our information and updates. So he's keeping up with us, even though we might not be able to make all these meetings. Hopefully he's looking at some of the YouTube or Facebook page stuff. And while he's not active this year, we hope his health is such that he'll be able to resume his activity. And Sam, if you're watching, we send you the best. Does anybody else have any other business? Okay, then our next board meeting is April 3rd, and our next general meeting will be in conjunction with the April 11th class graduation. That is not a Saturday event, that is a Tuesday event. I had Saturday on my mind. Okay,
I got
and
one
with
thing, Tom.
that, okay, go ahead.
If you're a trainee this year or mentor or have been on some of the field trips, if you've got pictures, send them to me so we can start working on the slideshow. My email's in chat. And that's it.
Okay. And with that, it's only 5 minutes after 8, and so in accordance with our guidelines, if it's only 5 minutes, we round back instead of forward. But that gives us 0.75 from 7:15 until 8 o'clock for chapter business, which is CB, and general meeting attendance. So members can get 0.75 hours for advanced training for this evening, and also 0.75 hours for chapter business. And with that, we will call the meeting to an end. And thank you, everybody, for participating. We had a good turnout this evening. We're looking forward. And I'm glad Ann's back and looking good, and I hope everybody else stays well. Thank you, Ronnie, for being here. It's good to see you. And thank you, Becky, for stepping up.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. And Jenny, we'll see about sending a flyer to the Rio Grande Valley chapter about Anita's upcoming workshop. Okay, thank you, everyone.